Tampa Bay Rowdies, who have made a huge upset.
Your 2021 Eastern Conference champions.
A chance play to go! Oh, that is a delicious goal for Tampa Bay.
And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Mills coming at you for the RBLR Sports Podcast. I am here tonight to cover the Rowdies specifically, and our shadowboxing champion has almost punched himself out. But Carlos, how are you doing this evening?
Undefeated. I'm continuing my unbeaten run in shadowboxing against myself and the camera. Looking a little pale for whatever reason. This monitor is very bright, and I can't figure out how to turn it down.
Yes, Carlos is the pale one between the two of us. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, exactly. That's my little cousin. I didn't know. I forgot. Damn, he's a teenager. I forgot he's like has a phone and everything. You know. Hey, John, how are you? By the way, his team FC Tampa just won their league 2 weeks ago. So shout out to John and crew down at FC Tampa for getting the league title. For the Town and Country FC Tampa squad. Love those guys. Love that squad. That's where I played youth soccer. And if you were following the Rowdies for early Sickos period, Schimberg, that's where the boys practiced back in 2012, 2013 as well. So very, very, very historic, let's say, ground over there. But James, I'm doing well. Hoping my microphone sounds okay. I'm getting some weird feedback. We'll keep playing with that. Hopefully it fixes itself. Rowdy stuff to talk about. Lots of stuff happening in the wider soccer world. There's a big game that we realize we're going to be playing in just a couple weeks here that I've already booked my flight for to come back for this specific game. What else is going on, James? What's going on in your life? Tell me about what's going on in the life of James Mills before we talk about the plethora of stuff going on in the Rowdies world.
Good word usage. I am wearing a bright highlighter shirt tonight, and despite what everyone might think, it is not a Rowdies highlighter. Instead, it is for my team in my adult league. We are sponsored by the local company Bubble Bin, so we are bright yellow. And that is our jersey, so to speak. But wish us all luck tomorrow night in our game when we take on whatever company we're taking on. I forget offhand. But in the grander world of better sports and better soccer and better players than you're going to find on our field, we need to turn to the professional realm in the Tampa Bay area and talk about the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Last week was an up and down week, lots of down. Quick little hit of up and then a fair bit of down after that as well. But Carlos, we have a lot to discuss before we even get to the preview for this upcoming game and the one that you are referring to when you talk about flying back to the Tampa region. So let's get into everything here without further ado. Last week, the Rowdies moved on in the Open Cup almost despite themselves and then lost at home to Lou City, I believe for the first time losing at home since 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to double check that to be fair. But regardless, it was not a good game and we did not win it. So we're going to go through all of that. Please don't forget our ticket competition. Bring a new person to a Rowdies game, snap a selfie with them, tag RBLR Sports on whichever social media you use, and you are entered to win free tickets to a game in August. That is one of the celebration nights. I believe, in fact, the original era night. That is when we are going to celebrate all the players from the 1970s era and the original team that was founded back at that time. So I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of fun stuff there. Please don't miss out. You can get free tickets if you take somebody to a game. You tag RBLR Sports and just let us know that you did it. That's pretty much all there is to it. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any major podcast platform. And of course, please follow us on all your social medias, wherever you are. We are at RBLR Sports. Carlos, I am going to do a quick review of the Naples game. I will let you do a quick one of the Lou City game, and then we will go to our questions. So let's do the starting 11 against FC Naples. Ethan Bondre was in net. Thomas Van Caziel, Robert Castellanos, Aaron Guillen, and Joey Skinner were across the back. Pacific Nyangabire, Cami McPherson, Danny Crisostomo, and Nate Worth were our midfielders. And up top, who else but Wubens Passius and Manuel Arteaga? Couldn't believe Wubens Passius and Manuel Arteaga, right? Who would have guessed that?
Not me.
So in this game, we were ahead for literally 2 minutes. We scored off of Pacific Nyangabire getting a nice little through header from Manuel Arteaga. And then Naples scored 2 minutes after that. And they held us, or we held them, probably is how I should put it, for the next close to 100 minutes or so. And ultimately, it was a pretty bad showing from the Rowdies, I'm going to say. But we did move on after a penalty shootout that went 10 rounds long. It was a late night, not only because we had the game, but also because after that, then the people who went with me, or the people that I went with, I should say, we then had to drive back to Bradenton. So that was another 2.5 hours. And I don't think I got to sleep until maybe 1 a.m.
Worth it.
Worth it to see us win in a penalty shootout, move on, and then get some competition coming up here, which we're going to talk about later on when we talk about the next round of the Open Cup. It is a huge game. It is a huge, huge game.
I'm already going to war on Twitter. I need backup, guys. I mean, good Lord.
I can only imagine that there's a lot going on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, the Orlando bots are coming at me. Not the score who we're playing, but I stand on business on X.com, James. Sorry, take it away. Take it back.
Well, there's not too much more here. Ethan Bondre made one save in the penalty shootout, and then we ultimately got lucky when their last taker hit the crossbar, which meant that we moved on. So it was great in that moment. I wanted to celebrate with everybody, every player that was out there, every fan that was in the stands, except for all the Naples ones because they were pissed at me. And that's how life goes. That's how life goes.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Exactly. Carlos, I will turn it over to you for a Lou City quick review.
Yeah. I'm excited to dive into that Naples game a little bit too. So I'm looking forward to getting to the questions on that one. But like you said, to jump into the Louisville game, just to mention that it happened. 2-1 loss for your Tampa Bay Rowdies. We came out with the starting lineup of Nico Campisi getting his starting spot back in net. Looks like we'll roll with Bondre for these sort of cup game scenarios. Van Caziel was slotted into that back line with Castellanos, Lasso, and Guillen, making up the rest of that back four. We'll note, by the way, Van Caziel, the right back, Guillen, the left back in this case. In the midfield, you had Nyangabire out right, McPherson, Crisostomo, and Ollie Bassett, by the way, out on the wing as well. Up top, none other than Wubens Passius and Manu Arteaga as your strikers. The Tampa Bay Rowdies had I would say, a better showing than we did in Naples and obviously the week prior against Loudoun. You go on to score the opening goal later into the second half. A looping shot, a weird kind of deflection off of Ollie Bassett's shot that ended up somehow getting behind the keeper and sneaking into the net. Rowdies would go up 1-0 and hold that lead for a little bit of time before Louisville would slot 2 goals in on the back end of this matchup. 2 well-worth goals. Louisville's a very, impressive attacking side. Dive into this one a bit more in just a second, but you could see the guys got rather tired at the end. The 3 games in 7 days, I think, definitely started to take a toll in this one. And like I said, we'll dive into it a bit more in just a minute. But some great quotes in the pressure with Coach Stevie Coleman, his second USL game, his 3rd game overall, and some other folks in there that chatted with us. So, James, Rowdies are going to lose this one 2-1. Still looking for their second USL win on the hasn't happened yet. If you're curious about how the RBLR standings update is going in terms of our predictions, James and Eureka have 5 points. I have 1 point because I'm the eternal optimist and I put all my trust in the Rowdies to turn it around. I've been predicting a lot of wins and inevitably those have not come. So that's where we are right now. James, before we dive into these games a bit more, I'll just quickly go through the standings. There's a lot going on in the Eastern Conference. Loudoun United is still in first place, 6 wins and 1 loss, 18 points. Detroit City in second.
You would have seen that coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I call it out every year, it'll happen eventually. Apparently, this is the year they're actually quite legit. Interestingly, and this is maybe more an extra time segment, but there was a pretty interesting article that came out. I think it was from The Athletic about Loudoun's like behind the scenes situation. And it's not great. Like this kind of like article expose situation came out about what the players are dealing with in the locker room and like terrible facilities. And of course, the season, like when a story like that comes out, Loudoun United FC is in first place and playing their best soccer ever. Make of that what you will, but I think it's a funny coincidence. Not funny what they're dealing with, but I think there's some comedic value to it. Louisville City in third place, 14 points. Charleston with 12. After that, there's a bit of a drop off into the single digits in points. North Carolina 8, Pittsburgh 7. Your Tampa Bay Rowdies are all the way back in 11th or 12th place, depending on how you calculate the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
We're tied with Hartford with 1 win. Take that with a grain of salt because 1 league win and you're kind of just shot back up into playoff position, 7th, 6th place. So hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. James, out west, interesting notes as well. Monterey Bay is playing some great soccer. They're out in first place with 14 points. Tulsa, by the way, who we kind of had an uproar about not getting a better result over there, is playing great soccer as well. They have 12 points in second place. New Mexico United, 12 points. San Antonio, 12 points. And by the way, this is a fun note as well for all the folks desperate to get Neil Collins back. Struggling with Sacramento Republic early on as well. 6 points, last place out west. Things not going off to a hot start, let's say, for Sacramento.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a really, really talented squad over there, and I'm sure they'll figure it out as well. Again, great coach at the helm. But yeah, just for the folks like clamoring on Twitter and Facebook to somehow bring Neil Collins back, it's not going well for him over there either. So keep that in mind. Okay, James, I think those are all the notable standings, bits and pieces. If you care, you have Thought Mob if you're listening to this. You can look it up yourself. I don't have to do your job for you. What the hell? James, let's be fake journalists and talking heads and pundits and talk about these couple of games here. We'll dive into our questions and answers and analysis and what the hell, whatever we call this segment, questions and analysis. 2 games this week, 3 games in a span of a week, if you include that Loudoun game the week prior. A lot of soccer has been played, a lot of injuries, not a lot, but 3 notable injuries in Hilton, Bodley, and Moon.
Yeah.
To guys that would get, I think I would go out on a limb and say a lot of minutes. Depth is not super great. Andrew Mustali is our third option striker, who by the way, I love this kid. We'll talk about his penalty in a second too. Holy crap.
Yeah.
But again, the kid, like he's still finding his way in the squad and everything. From a 30,000 foot perspective, James, how are you taking these 2 games together in Stevie Coleman's second and third game at the helm, respectively? Do you see improvement? Do you see us trending in the right direction? General concerns? Give me your 30,000 foot view of where we are right now.
Well, with the injuries that you already mentioned, and again, just so everybody's aware, that is Lewis Hilton, Blake Bodley, and Nick Moon. Nick Moon has been out the longest, which at this point is still only 3 games at the most. But yeah, it is a team that's in a lot of transition from one coach to another, transition from one playing style to another. And that includes the formation. So if you want to add that, transition from one formation to another as well. There are a lot of moving pieces here. Thomas Van Kazeel stepped in at right back. Lawrence White has not been listed as injured as far as I've seen. I'll have Eureka correct me on that if I'm wrong. But yeah, Lawrence White was not available for either the Open Cup game or the game against Louisville City, and Thomas Van Kaziel stepped into the right back spot. I thought he did pretty well, by the way. Just want to put that out there.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
But that was an interesting tidbit. While Blake Bodley is out, we are still in this 4-4-2 formation. And so Aaron Guillen played as the left back against Louisville City, and Joey Skinner played as the left back against Naples. I thought Joey Skinner also looked pretty good. His parents were there, so that was cool. That was cool just to meet them. He came on for a little cameo at the end of the Louisville City game as well. Unfortunately, he was unable to impact things. They had already scored 2 goals and gone up by the time that Joey Skinner got on. Yeah. So Pacific Nyangabire came back in for his position. Cammy McPherson and Denny Chrysostomos started both of these games in the midfield. Nate Worth was a starter versus Naples, which I guess that's probably understandable. And then Ollie Bassett came back in for the Louisville City game. And then the one thing that has been consistent so far is Woobens Passius and Manuel Arteaga putting on a lot of minutes, a lot of minutes. And this is something that's already starting to concern me. I think I've said this in multiple places just this week. Anybody who is either reading or listening to other things or just knows me and has talked to me recently, I have pointed out that I think Woobens Passius and Manuel Arteaga, Woobs and Manu, if you would like, they are getting too many minutes at this point. I think that we're going to need to switch our formation up further so that we're not playing a 4-4-2, because if our 3 options are Woobs, Manu, and Andrew Mustali, just like you, Carlos, I would like to see Andrew Mustali get a lot more playing time. I don't expect that Andrew Mustali is going to be a player that they're going to rely on in moments when they're like, we're down a goal, we need to get back into this game. That's just the nature of the game when you're 17 years old. Most people are not Lionel Messi. Most people can't do it at that age. But Andrew Mustali still has a lot to give.
He might be close, though. He might be close if you're just looking at that penalty.
That's fair.
It's ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah, the penalty was fun. We're going to talk about that in a second. But it's very interesting that if these are our 2 strikers, they have played almost 90 minutes every game of this season. They have started every game. And yes, just like Rugby King says, 120 minutes for those who played the full game against Naples. That's in midweek. It's also on turf, which is a tougher surface. It's literally worse on your knees. So just keep all of those things in mind here. It's a lot of wear and tear. There's a lot to work on in terms of sorting out what our best formation is. And we're right now, we're doing it without a couple of players who would contribute to making it a better formation. Let's say that we move to a 3-4-3 or some type of system that included us having wing backs, might be a 3-5-2, whatever variation of this there is. We'll see. Unused sub says 3-5-2. But if we moved back to a system with wing backs, imagine that Nick Moon is the right wing back and Blake Bodley is the left wing back, something that I think most people were expecting when we signed both of them, actually. That would allow Pacific Nyangabire to play a higher up role, which I think he's more used to. That would allow Ollie Bassett to play a higher up role. Again, something he's probably more used to. And at that point, we could have one striker switch between Woobs and Manu. If you literally want to do it this way, which maybe Andrew Mustali gets a couple of these too, but you could switch back and forth week to week. One is starting, then the other. And this way we have a little less miles on their legs going by each new week, each new month. So there's a lot of concerns that I have with the team, while I also think there's still a lot of talent here. It's not meshing particularly well. And I don't want to spend a bunch of time pointing out every fault that I see with every player. But there are a couple of things that I do have to point out while we're talking about it, especially in the Naples game. Aaron Guillen did not look particularly dialed in that game. He got a yellow card within literally the first 90 seconds. I don't know about arguing that one. There was no argument except, it's so early in the game. Why would you give a yellow card? But if it's like that, then you can't give a yellow card. Yeah. Or you still have to give a yellow card is what I mean to say. He was very lucky not to have been sent off. I think around the 20th minute, something like that. And if he had not already been on a yellow, then he would have gotten a yellow for that challenge. So it's just that the referee did him a bit of a favor there. I saw a lot of Naples fans complaining for 2 penalty calls in that game. Those were not penalties; they were dives.
No.
Get out of my face with that. The referee in this game versus Naples was actually fantastic. He happened to referee the Sun game the following Friday. Just wanted to point that out. He was really good. I liked him a lot, and that's not just bias. I think that there were calls that I saw for like in our favor that he did not give us, that I was trying to be like, okay, well, whatever. He was generally a very fair referee. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If anyone from Naples is listening, you got to calm down with yelling at the referee, literally yelling at the referee when they got calls in their favor. I don't understand what to give you at that point. I don't know what.
Yeah, I noticed that on the broadcast as well. They were complaining about, I'm like, it's natural, you're at home, whatever. Complain however much you want, but it was kind of ridiculous. I'm willing to say Naples is on the lower tier of ball knowledge early on in my immediate reactions from that game. I'm sure I will get a better feel when I go down on the 4th of July. Confirm them making that trip. That'll be fun. James, are you going to be back there for 4th of July? Or do you get one Naples trip is enough too? Okay, good.
Going for 2.
Yeah, everyone will go down there. It's so quick. I mean, not super quick, but it's close. Like, make your way down there. It'll be cool. Yeah, that crowd was active, though. I'll give them that. I'll give them that. On a Wednesday, it's hard to draw a Wednesday Open Cup crowd, even for a new team. Like, it can be tough. And all respect to what is it, Nico Cantor? That's a younger one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nico Cantor and crew are doing over there. The field sucks based on all accounts, though, by the way. So let's work on that. The rest is great. Good atmosphere from what I heard. Good, players, obviously. They're still undefeated, technically. I mean, that game was a draw.
They have lost now in the league, I will point out.
They lost. Okay, they must have lost this weekend then.
One other thing to point out about going to Naples games, they have a partnership with a local brewery, I believe, and 2 very good FC Naples themed beers. Just want to put that out there.
Okay. We only had 1. Yeah, I remember that one. Big Storm Brewing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so good stuff going on down there. But that's a great point that I don't think I touched on or thought about too much until I was down in the area this weekend. I was at the Louisville game, and I passed by the training complex on Friday to chat with CB Coleman for the first time, Leo. We talked a little bit about off camera the field in Naples. Nothing crazy, but they were saying, I mean, it took a particularly strong toll on the folks, on our guys' knees and legs, because on top of it being turf, it was like weird turf. Like there was no, when you usually play on turf, James, you have like the plastic, little plastic pellets, not plastic, rubber pellets down there, like usually softens the impact. Ball slows down a little bit. If you noticed in this game, James, we were shooting a lot of long balls that were flying by. Like they took a bounce and they just kept going. You know what I'm talking about? You notice that?
Yeah.
That was something I didn't notice. Like I saw a lot of that. And I thought, man, those are just bad passes. Maybe they were, overshot and whatnot. But it was also a matter of it being a very, very unique turf situation. And the players noticed it and affected the play and whatnot. It won't be an excuse all season, but I think this particular turf situation was really, really bad. Yeah. Glad Unused Subs agrees with me. I'm not trying to give an excuse for like a mid performance, but I will say, I'll caveat your harsher critique of this game. I saw definite improvements just structurally, organizationally from Loudoun to Naples. It wasn't like a lot. That Loudoun game was kind of, very, very low bar.
Sure.
In terms of improvements, but I saw improvements. When we get to the Louisville game in a second, I think a bit more. That game, I saw a lot more improvement. But in terms of just this Naples game, I think we did what we had to do. Given the situation, I think we did enough. That Nyangabire finish was godly. I hope we can see more of that.
That would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was lovely. And I think to your point about Moon and Bodley, them being like in the lineup, I think just makes us so much better, because Van Kaziel is doing us a good job in the last game, right? He did an okay job at fullback. I think we got him into the squad because he's so like versatile, kind of plug and play situation. But Guillen is not a left back. You know what I
No,
mean? Like
no.
maybe a few years ago, and he's not like old by any means, but that's never been his game. He's been a really good, quick center back. You know what I mean? He's never been a left back. I mean, he has, but it's never been his like game. And certainly, if he has been a left back, it hasn't been because of his offensive ability. You know what I mean? And I love Guillen. Guillen's my boy. Like I talk to him all the time after the games when I'm there. I love obviously like I have a special place for all the guys that can talk Spanish too on the field after the games. Like I love Guillen, but that's not his spot, man. Like I don't know what we're gonna be doing going forward if we're gonna stick with this 4-4-2 situation or maybe like I don't know. My main thing is I don't know if we're gonna be sticking with 4-back or 3-back and wing backs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
What we've known to work for this squad over the last several years is the wing back situation. When we have good wing backs, it works. Bodley and Moon are good wing backs. If they stay healthy, like that allows a lot of movement, a lot of great offensive play to come together. But I think I don't know. To me, it seems like the 4-back situation is more out of necessity based on where we are with injuries and stuff than it is about it being like the best system for us going forward. That being said, I asked who did I talk about? Was it Coach that I asked this after the game on this past weekend? It was either the coach or one of the players. They seem comfortable running with it. Like it's something that they've done in practice. They've mentioned like this is something that they're comfortable with going forward if they need to. But I think personally, anecdotally, maybe, I guess the numbers would probably prove it too. Like the 3-5-2 situation, or however you want to structure it with the wing backs, just produces more chances for us. It just does. Like that's just kind of how we've built this team to play for the last several years at this point.
And it's also where we have depth right now is in defense.
Yeah. So, So like, and this is, I'm looking at YouTube comments on the side here. The spoiler says the bar's on the floor. We have one win. It's a great point. Like it's an great point. I think because of that, it's been easier for me to notice like the small improvements, right? So from Loudon to Naples, more organized, bit better attitude on the field. From Naples to Louisville, and James, I'll jump into the Louisville game just a little bit while I bring it up. The Louisville game was very well played for the first however many minutes.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of people. Well, there we go, another one there. But a couple of people point out specifically what you're saying right now.
Yeah, no, it's that first half too. Like we looked so good. We deserved more goals. There's a question about our finishing, right, which we've touched on. And this was a stat that I was listening to the unused substitutes episode earlier today as well during my lunch break. And they reminded me of the stat that we talked about a few weeks ago about us having the highest XG in the league with even like under Robbie Nielsen and like still not producing the goals or whatever. Like you could kind of see that still carrying over in the Louisville game. Like we had a lot of chances, right?
Manuel Arteagas is the one that really stands out for me.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair, like that's not one that maybe we like necessarily like created. We did force a mistake on the Louisville's end to create that. I guess you could argue, but those are ones that you just have to finish. You know what I mean? Like I think, and it's easy for me to say as someone here and not down there. I just signed up for a rec soccer league in the DC area, so I'll let you know if my finishing is still up to par. But it seems like it's easy to get in your own head as a striker. And I've never played striker, so correct me if I'm wrong. I've never played striker, but it seems like it's easy to get in your own head when you're used to scoring goals at the clip he does, and then you're just not finding the back of the net.
Yeah, for
an extended period of time. I don't think we see like that kind of chip from Manu Arteaga last season. You know what I mean? Last season's Arteaga, I think, just kind of drills it and like knocks it in, bottom corner or whatever. He's the finisher. last year we complained about Kyle Jennings not finishing because he had countless opportunities because he just breaks away and creates opportunities. He had so many opportunities, and we would constantly get on here like at the half point of the season and be like, Cal, like I just need a little more out of you. It was never really Arteaga we would say that about. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping he kind of reverts to his Arteaga self and knocks them in. And that's a great comment too from Rugby on YouTube. If you want to throw that on there. Manu had, quote, too much time to think about it. I think that's a great I think that's actually a great way to think about it. There was too much time there. When you're a finisher, like your game is just split-second decisions. You know what I mean? When you have that much time to think about it, in the situation Arteaga's in where he hasn't scored a goal in this season, right? Does he have one? No, right? I don't think he has one yet. It gets in your head, I would assume. That being said, I think that kind of mentality gets broken as soon as you net that first goal. So that's what I would say. So we're not, talking about Miami yet, but this weekend against Miami's better. They're still not great. If we were in a better position, I would say this is a game where Endry Mustali gets a start. You know what I mean? It's a cup game. There's a lot of wiggle room when it comes to the Jägermeister group stage because we have, 2 third division teams in our group as well. Like, you don't really need to do that well in the group. I think there's a lot of room to like test things out or whatever. I really, really would have loved to see Endry Mustali get the start this weekend. But, big but, I need Arteaga to start getting goals. You know what I mean? To break that mentality, to get that rhythm going. I think maybe this could be a game where he breaks it open and gets that flow going again, so that we don't really see mistakes like the one against Louisville. He had a couple other chances as well. I think Woobs had a couple good looks that he just skied as well. So it's not just Arteaga, but like obviously Woobs has a bit more room to play with since he's knocked in a few already. So that's where we are right now in terms of these past couple games. I think there's very clear improvements. And by the way, like when I was down there on Friday talking to Stevie, and I chatted with him and Leo, and I put those on my Twitter at Carlos2PA10. If you want to go back and take a look at those, we had a great short conversation with both of them, a few minutes each. Great insight on the Naples game. Great insight on Leo getting to play against his own brother, by the way.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, that was awesome. Fernandez against Fernandez. First thing Leo does when he comes into the game is give Gustavo a little shove. Or when Gustavo came into the game, he's giving a little shove on a corner kick because Gustavo had to mark him on the corner kick. First thing he comes into the game. So that was awesome. Some great stuff over there. You can check that out again. It's at Carlos2PA10. Put that on my Twitter. Those conversations. But Stevie gave me a great first impression. Steve Coleman, and I don't know if like Stevie's what people actually call him. That's what I've been rocking with. I'm going to keep going with it until someone stops me. But Coach Steve
Big
Coleman,
Los and Stevie.
Yeah, we hang out. Like we're best friends. He gave me a great first impression, James, and this is just again part of these broader takeaways. He is more vocal on the field. You can see him in training, just getting after it. The guys seem to really rally around him. I talked to a couple of folks from the front office that were around the field, and they use the word culture a lot when talking about him. He's a big culture guy. The New Zealand kind of background and culture down there when it comes to sports and the team and the community, like it seems like the guys really kind of buy into that just off of initial impression, right? So, and on top of that, like I see kind of where we're trending on the field, which to answer my own question to you that I posed earlier, I think we are trending in the right direction. So I feel pretty good about where we are. Again, the bar's on the floor. I'm not saying I'm happy with where we are, but in terms of where we have been over the last several weeks and kind of where things are trending, I feel pretty good. I really, really hope we can get a couple of these injured guys back because I think that will make a big, big difference. I think this weekend gives us a really good opportunity to kind of open the floodgates for a couple of guys. But any takeaways in particular from this Louisville game, James? Because I think there's a lot here that we haven't really touched on yet. Like, give me something we haven't talked about. Give me a talking point here about Louisville, because again, we talked about the first 70 minutes. What's something else you noticed? Give me a talking point here for Louisville.
Well, I guess this was the thing that I really wanted to hit on was the goals that we conceded. But if we're talking about stuff that we haven't talked about at all, then that wouldn't really fit in here, because as we've already talked about in relation to the Naples game, Aaron Gein is not a left back. And I think I don't think the first goal comes from the left-hand side. I think it's the second goal obviously our left hand, their right side.
Yeah.
And they, Louisville, that is, had a chance immediately afterward to make it 3-1 from that same left-hand side. So there's my big thing right now is I think that we do have the injuries, so that plays a role. Blake Bodley and Nick Moon, that plays a role. We don't have the most direct replacements for them. We do, but they're not at the same level that I guess it's worth it to stick with the same formation that they were playing in before. So if we're going to do that, we'll switch a formation, play with somebody else. Ollie Bassett isn't really a winger. He wants to come inside. Pacific Nyongabire is kind of a winger, but the problem with him playing as a winger is that his final ball is, I think the worst part about his game generally. He's usually better about dribbling and getting, opening things up for other people by doing that, rather than whipping the ball back into the box and getting a good cross in off of that. That's where I think that those two players are deficient when we try to play them in those specific roles.
Sure.
Lewis Hilton has a direct replacement with Cammy McPherson, even though they obviously play things a little bit differently. They can both relatively do enough of the same stuff. And Danny Crisostomo has been one of the better players we've had through 2025. So my question then is just, what are we going to do with the formation here? How are we going to create a better system for the players that we have? I feel like a 4-3-3 would be a pretty good setup. A 4-3-3 would give us, let me work this out. 4-3-3, Blake Bodley is the roving left back. Okay. We have somebody at right back who can play more defensively, so that we end up with three at the back when we're in possession anyway.
Like
and Blake Bodley is pushing up.
Yeah.
Could be Van Deal easily. And then if we have either Lewis Hilton or Cammy McPherson in the midfield, we have two central midfielders. One of those is obviously going to be Danny Crisostomo, and I would assume the other is either Leo Fernandez, if and when he gets back to full fitness, or maybe Ollie Bassett.
Great point.
On top, we have only one of Woobs or Manu starting at each game, like I said. Pacific Nyongabire can play as an inverted winger, so he's going to be cutting inside a lot more, and I think we're going to get a lot more out of him that way. And then I guess the left wing would be, well, if Ollie Bassett is the left winger, then we would need one more central midfielder. So that's one to figure out. But the way that we're playing right now, we're playing a 4-4-2. We don't have anyone on the field who is an out-and-out winger. We don't have anyone out there who plays that role the way that, I don't know. It's a really bad example because the game has changed a lot. But the quintessential winger that everybody thinks about is David Beckham, right? He plays out on the wing. He whips the ball back into the box in a perfect spot to get a great chance and score, hopefully, a couple of goals. We don't have anybody who's going to play that role. We don't have anybody who's going to play the role as a dribbler, but also stay outside and try and look for somebody back in.
You don't think that's
what I want to see.
You don't think that's a Nyongabire type of role? I feel like that's kind of where he's, where we've been trying to slot him in, and I think that's kind of his natural position. And you might disagree with me on this, but his strength has always been being out wide, taking on guys one-on-one. Maybe, and this is something.
He does. You're right. That's okay. Yeah.
And you could. I think that's something you can knock him on a little bit is his crossing abilities. Like, if you're at the wing, you want to put in a good ball for your guys in the box. I think we could. I've always wanted maybe a little bit more out of him on that end. I feel like
yes, maybe you're right. I'm being too harsh because of that specific facet.
Yeah, but in terms of like an out-and-out winger, I think that's kind of our best option right now. And it's a good option. And again, this is something that I chatted with a couple of front office folks that were there on Friday. Nyanga strength has always been that being able to take guys one-on-one and get into the box. He's kind of like what Damian Rivera was for us, but like he can play a full 90. You know what I mean? Damian Rivera can play last 20, last 30 minutes maybe. He would be electric. Nyanga is more of a guy that can track back, play defense. He can do the whole thing if he needs to, play full 90. I think if you can unlock, the passing aspect, sure. I think it's passable. I think it's kind of a funny way to describe his passing ability is passable, but you get my point. I think if he can unlock that finishing prowess a little bit more, because he gets into the box. I mean, that's one thing about Nyanga is that he gets into the box. If he can unlock that finishing prowess just a little bit more, I think you kind of start to get the best out of him. I think that might be what they're trying to do here. So whether that's in a 4-4-3 or a 4-4-2, and you keep him out in kind of like a right mid spot or wherever, was Ollie on the left or right? Ollie was on the left.
Ollie was on the left, which would allow him to cut more inside because Blake Bodley was my left back who's getting high up the field. Yeah.
So keeping him out right, I think that allows him to continue to unlock that. And I think he do left or right, to be honest. But whatever. Long-winded way of saying I think we're going to rely on Nyanga a lot more this season than we did last year. I think it's a good thing. I think because of that, I think we might be able to see his full potential come out here. We'll see how much that comes to fruition, but I think we're going to get a lot out of him this year as he settles into whatever system we kind of play with. But again, that's a good question because it's a matter of finding what system that'll be.
I should correct. I think you're right, Carlos. He is the out and out winger type that he does like having the space to run at people and try and dribble past them. I'm definitely being too harsh because the final ball is where we're all looking for more production.
Sure.
But the other thing that I want to point out in relation to this system is we're playing 4-4-2, and let's go with Pacific Nyanga is our best option as a winger. Right now, there really is no backup for that. Rubens Passius was, I think we moved into a system against, was it Loudon? Yeah, it was Loudon. We had 3 up top towards the end of the game. We were trying to come back, and Rubens was on the left, Manu was in the middle, and Andrew Mustali was effectively the right winger. That's not going to work. No. I like Andrew Mustali. I think that his game, actually, I think the best part of his game is his hold-up play with his back to net. He's a big guy for 17 years old. I don't think putting his head down and running at people is the best part of his game. So if Pacific Nyanga is our best winger, there's nobody behind that we have, at least right now. We're going to get to somebody a little bit later who maybe could contribute. I doubt it, but we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to be very hopeful just because of the situation. That's my concern for the formation.
Yeah, that's one thing about our 3 strikers, our 3 rostered strikers, and I guess 4 now with the academy kid. Whose name I'm blanking on. We just announced him. Is that on our extra time segment?
Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah, A-Rod, of course. Not the baseball A-Rod, the soccer A-Rod. At least for the 3 that I know stuff about, or that I've seen stuff on field about. I know a little bit about Alex Rodriguez because he plays at Florida Premier with one of family friend. But from the 3 guys we've seen on the field, they're all true strikers. They're not.
Yes.
They're not like guys you can kind of plug and play at the wing or whatever efficiently. I think Woobs out there, we've seen them try to do that when things have gotten a little tight at the back end. You just kind of put all your attacking prowess in at the same time. And it really doesn't work. Like that's not his role. You can't fault him for not playing well over there because he's not going to be a guy that kind of like dribbles around 3 guys and puts in a good ball. Like he's a sizable guy. Good build on him that's supposed to fight people off to get on the end of a header or a finish. It's not his role. So that's a great point. I think, and this is all speculation. I don't know if we're going to go out and sign anyone at this point. Maybe this is kind of who we're rocking with the rest of the year, which is, I think, mostly okay if everyone comes back from injury. With Bodley and Moon, I think they give you a lot of flexibility and depth. But it seems like that's kind of the area, like you said, where we're a bit stretched thin. Maybe there's a guy out there that can give you 20-30 minutes. Personally,
like I said, I'm hopeful that maybe Probably not, but maybe, cross their fingers, it might be the academy kid.
Yeah, I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket. But
Exactly.
and it's not, not being like pessimistic or anything, but for all intents and purposes, I've always called these academy contracts like internships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're getting a taste for the professional soccer world. In some cases, they break out and they have great seasons, like Tate Johnson did with a couple times with us. Oh shoot, Independiente's up 1-0 on River Plate. That's interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe. I'll give you a maybe. The kid, I mean, these kids look good, by the way. The 2 academy kids we signed, obviously one's a keeper, but A-Rod looks legit, man. But we'll get to that later on. I think we can talk about it a bit more in extra time. Okay, so at this point, I think we're kind of rambling a bit about the future, right? Any other takeaways from the Louisville? Oh, I'll give you one more takeaway from the Louisville game. We're tired. We got tired.
Yes.
And again, three games in 7 days in a week is tough. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Naples turf was not great. It was a full 120 plus penalties.
10 rounds.
10 rounds penalties. Great penalties, by the way. Leo Fernandez was not the guy I would have chalked in to miss our only penalty of the night, by the way.
For real. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, my dad and I were watching. It was funny. Like I got picked up from the airport at the start of the game. We went out, got dinner, full sit down dinner and everything. By the time we got home, they were still playing because it went to overtime and penalties. But we just ridiculously long game. By the time we sat down, my dad was like, "I know what's going to happen here." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "What? Both Fernandez are going to miss it." And I go, "I don't think so." And then Leo missed the first one, and I'm like, by the time Gustavo came up, I thought it was going to happen and we'd win off of Gustavo miss. But inevitably went to the end. Great penalties from. By the way, that's kind of comforting to know that if we get into a penalty shootout in a big spot, we have so many good penalty takers all the way through the roster. I mean, every single player had a good-looking penalty except Leo, but I think that's just gets figured out. So that's another point for another day. It's not really a big point, but it could be a big point when we get to a penalty shootout. I feel a lot more comfortable going forward knowing we have some great shooters in the lineup. Bondra had a great game, by the way, and this one, by the way, in Naples. Nothing stellar in the penalty shootout, but good game in Naples. I just want to throw that out there before we move on from Naples. But it's clear to me that in the Louisville game, we had a great start, obviously scored a goal, could have had many more goals, better finishing. I said on Twitter that in another world, we win that game 3-0, 4-0, based on our chance creation. But you could tell we got tired by the end of it. I don't think our back line is like bad per se. I think the back line we have is incredible. With Lasso and Castellano and even Guillen, who we've talked a little bit about his not playing stellar at the left back spot. I think all the guys we have are still incredible backline people. But you could tell they just got tired, especially the bigger guys like Lasso and Castellanos. They were lumbering a bit more by the end of the game. And I think that's what kind of the slower reaction to chances at the end of the game is ultimately what gave Louisville the 2 goals they had. We got a little soft. We got soft in the back line. It's because we were a little too slow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, and James, like we'll talk about the Orlando game coming up in a couple weeks here in just a second. I think we can touch on it just briefly in extra time. But that's kind of how I've been like contextualizing the rest of the season is like the next 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks are everything for me. I desperately want to be Orlando. And in terms of like the next few weeks, we're back to normal. Saturday game. No, sorry. Saturday's game, Saturday game, and then Wednesday game against Orlando. So not playing a ton of games. By the time that Wednesday game rolls around, it's not like you'll have played 3 games. That'll be the second game. By the time you get to that, next weekend, you'll have played 3 games in 7 days and you'll get tired. But at least for the next couple of weeks, we're back to normal.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that even with limited depth, we'll be okay. Maybe that's optimistic, but I don't think it'll be a problem for the next couple of weeks. After that, it'll become a problem again once we get to the weekend after our Wednesday game.
Yes.
For now, and for the case for what am I trying to say? For all intents and purposes about this Orlando game that I want to desperately win, that I would trade so many losses for, we'll be okay for the next couple of weeks. So here's to surviving the next 3 game stretch in a week.
Okay.
I don't really have anything else to say on that. You could just tell we got tired.
Yeah.
You could tell. You could tell. Lasso was a little slow to react. Castellanos was a little slow to react. And they know. I talked to Castellanos in the press conference after. He said like we needed to defend better at the end. He wasn't giving excuses, but he specifically mentioned the 3 games in a week as well. Like, it's tough, but they know what they have to do, and it won't be a problem for the next couple weeks. So let's throw that out the window. Just to mention that I think we could have beat Louisville in this one. And I think we're a good team to be optimistic. I'll be in Louisville in June when we play them. I'm hoping we get a better result over there once we're not playing 3 games in a week. So, James, that's all I have on this one. Better from Loudoun to Naples, marginally better. From Naples to Louisville, I think a lot better. We looked good. Against a worse team with not as much depth and as much attacking prowess, we get the 3 points. And I'm hoping we start to bounce back in the next couple of weeks. So, James, get into the man of the match. It's about
Let's
time.
do our man of the match. Absolutely. So for the Open Cup game versus Naples, my choice was Rubens Passius. Who was your choice, Carlos?
For the Naples game, I threw Lasso in there exclusively because of that goal line clearance, because we don't make it to overtime.
No, we don't.
And he had a great game overall, too. Naples created more than a couple chances. I think Lasso has been a great piece to have back now that he's fully back, or almost fully back. He's playing the full 90. Maybe his fitness isn't up to his normal self, but he's back and he's playing really good soccer. So again, I think the stamina maybe not there fully, but again, 3 games in a week is tough. But in this one, great showing. Shout out to him.
And then we move on to the Louisville match. As I said earlier, I think Danny Crisostomo is doing really well in 2025, and he was my man of the match for this one. Carlos, who was yours for the Louisville game?
Mine for Louisville was Cammy McPherson, and this was more of a quieter performance good performance. I think he had a great showing. And I'm waiting for him to knock in that first mid-range goal. It's coming for him. Like, you could tell he's ripping those shots from outside the box, which is something I've always wanted from our guys in the central midfield.
Yep.
Need a couple of guys that when things are just kind of a bit dicey, just rip a shot, let it fly, and let it sneak into the back far post. And he's got that ability in him. Those shots are going just wide. I'm not giving him man of the match because of missed shots. I think he created a lot of opportunities. He's pushing the ball, moving the ball well. I think he's doing what he's very Lewis Hilton-esque. But on top of like doing most of what Lewis Hilton's able to do so well, he's ripping those shots from outside the box. And I think we're going to see a lot more out of him going forward. I don't know what it looks like when Lewis Hilton comes back. If they kind of have both of them in there, I feel like it's going to be a lot of central midfielders if they try to sneak Cammy McPherson and Lewis Hilton in there. But for now, I really like what we're getting out of him. I think the chance creation is kind of flowing through him as well. We just need some better finishing, James, and it's going to come along.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. All right. Well, we are going to move on to our preview now because we have run late with a review of 2 games, but it was 2 games, so there was a lot to go over, and I think that that's perfectly fair. Let's get to the Jägermeister Cup. Yes, folks, it is the Jägermeister Cup for all the USL. In fact, it is specifically called the USL Cup, but it is sponsored by Jägermeister, so that is why it is the Jägermeister Cup, and it will forever be known by that. I don't care who becomes the sponsor in the future. It is the Jaeger Cup for me, and it is the Jaeger Cup that I hope that we ultimately end up winning, along with several other ones. But this weekend, the Jägermeister Cup kicks off for 2025, and for the Rowdies with a home game versus the Miami FC at 7:30. Please be there at Al Lang because it is also the anniversary night. Anniversary of the original founding of this team, again, back in 1975, our 50th anniversary year. Please come out because there's all sorts of stuff that are going to be going on in all of these different celebration games. So if you want to take part in the first one, this is the first one. This is that time.
And by the way, this is something that I think James said, but just to reemphasize this, like, this is the actual like founding date anniversary of the club. I think it's really great that I was able to line up to, the same exact date as our founding. That's great. That's awesome. I'm really happy. I think that's not a note to be overlooked that it's the actual date of the 50-year anniversary. So enjoy that 50 years of rowdy soccer. And it's the Jägermeister Cup debut for the boys. So I don't know. It's awesome. Enjoy that. I think it's going to be a great game, James. And again, a great opportunity for us to kind of get things on track.
Absolutely. The Jägermeister Cup this year is broken up into 6 groups of 6 teams. I don't know exactly how they're going to do the next round, but the winner of each group moves on. So maybe there will be a second group stage. I'm not sure. I need to look into that. But the point is, we need to win our group if we would like to move on. We play 4 of the teams, not all 5. We will not play Greenville Triumph. No,
Really?
I think it is Greenville Triumph. But our first one again is against the Miami. Then we'll also play Charleston and Naples, and we will play South Georgia Tormenta. So Greenville is the only one of those that we will not play. This weekend, though, when we take on Miami, it should be noted that they are doing pretty well recently, having only lost to Indy in the Open Cup. So I don't know where this came from, but it has turned around for them. They beat Inter Miami 2 in the Open Cup, then San Antonio, and then North Carolina. Both of those last 2 games were in the league. Their last lineup was Bill Hamid in net, Jonathan Ricketts, Dalton Knutson, Bolu Akinyode, and Brandon Bent at the back. Matias Romero and Diego Mercado behind Dejan Veron, Alan Gavilanes, and Sebastian Blanco, with Francisco Bonfilio up top. I just want to point out again, I think I did this previously, but Dejan Veron is the son of Juan Sebastian Veron, very famous player for the Argentine national team in the past. Francisco Bonfilio up top leads with 3 goals. Dalton Knutson, their center back, also has 2. Very interesting. We don't know how much emphasis they're going to place on this game, either team, that is, the Rowdies or Miami. It should be noted that when this was played in exclusively amongst USL League One teams last year, it was a secondary competition to the league, and I perfectly understand it being a secondary competition to the league and the Open Cup. Personally, the Open Cup should take more importance for me, especially considering who we're playing. But at the same time, a trophy is a trophy. Let's see if we can get something out of this season. It could be all 3. That would be very hard to do, but I would like it. If it's only one of them, then why not? Why not this one too? It's going to be interesting to see what the lineup looks like and see who of the kids gets a run out. Possibly Alex Rodriguez, who we've just been talking about. We'll mention him fully at the end of this one. Maybe Andrew Mustali from the start. Carlos was a little ambivalent about that one. I personally would like to see it. It would give both Manu and Woobs a rest that they need. And we could see some other subs get in too. Joey Skinner hasn't had a lot of playing time thus far. I wouldn't be shocked to see him start this game. Could be a time for experimentation as well with the starting lineup. Maybe we see something akin to what I pointed out or what I suggested. Maybe everything that I came up with is dopey, and people who actually know the game better will point out why that is with their own lineup. So we'll see how it turns out. But anyway, the last thing we need to do is predictions. Carlos, myself, and Eureka are going to give them now, and we will start with Carlos.
I think we're going to win 2-0. Oh geez, and maybe I did not copy an upcoming record. 2-0 win, I think. I don't know, and again, this is going back to my conversation from earlier. I don't know how I want this lineup to look. It'd be good to give the guys some rest and kind of, it's been a long week of soccer last week. But we really need RTI to start knocking in these goals. And this is a team that doesn't defend super duper well.
That's true.
I think this would be a great opportunity to open the floodgates. I don't know. Maybe give them like a second half sub, halftime sub, start like A-Rod or Endry. Someone mentioned earlier starting Woobs or sitting Woobs and starting Endry. I think I would like that. Woobs has the confidence. He's missed a few good looks as well, but he's got the goals already. He's got the confidence going. Maybe like an Arteaga Mustali combo up top to start the game would be nice. I really don't know. I still think we're going to come out and win this game because Miami's not very good. And I think we need a confidence booster. I think we'll be all right. I think this is a great opportunity for us to get things going. So I would prefer if Arteaga starts his game and obviously gets a couple goals. But I'm not the coach, obviously. I just think, and again, I'm thinking a lot about, this upcoming game against Orlando. Like, I want our team to be fully functioning in their best form possible. And I think a big part of that is Arteaga's goal scoring ability. Like, if he's on, one good look, and that's a goal for us. You know what I mean? So we need him to be on, and I hope this is an opportunity for him to do that. If not, I'd still be okay with the kids getting some good minutes here, and maybe we get the best out of injury and see what he can do. And I don't know, maybe he has a breakout season and scores like 1 million goals. Who knows? But officially, 2-0 win is my prediction.
All right, you join Eureka in a 2-0 win prediction, and I will join you in a win prediction, but I will go with 2-1 instead.
Yeah. Let me throw this in here too, James. By the way, I had to look this up just to make sure we're giving accurate information. It's obviously the winner of the group moves on to the next stage, and then it's the 2 teams who score the most goals in the competition that don't win their group that go to the next round.
Oh, that's how they're doing it. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So a big emphasis on goal scoring here, which I don't mind.
No, sure.
And something to throw in, by the way, as well. If the game's tied at the end of regulation, there's a penalty kick shootout.
Is there extra time?
No. If it's tied at the end of regulation, straight into penalties, with the shootout win being worth 2 points and the shootout loss being worth 1 point for the tie, I guess. For your troubles, you get a point. Keep that in mind. If we're tied, I really hope we're not at the end of 90.
I personally, I know that we're all biased when we're saying this, but I personally don't see that coming.
Yeah, but for the future Jägermeister group stage games, if we're tied, penalty shootout coming. So keep that in mind. It's exciting. Okay, James, that's the Miami FC game coming up. Jägermeister Cup debut. Drink all the Jaeger bombs you want. It's a good time to do it. Yeah, Jägermeister Cup tournament based purely off of vibes was the comment I saw. There it is. Vibes. Again, it's a trophy, so I think there's a level of importance to it, but I also think there's a certain opportunity here more than anything to really get things going in terms of chemistry, in terms of goal scoring. I think you have to give it a certain level of importance just because it's another competitive game in the point of the season where we're not playing great soccer.
Yep.
You can't really afford to throw away a game and have another bad performance because you need to get things going, whether it's the Jägermeister Cup or league play or eventually this all important Open Cup game. Yeah, that's where we are. Miami FC upcoming. Let's beat the crap out of them, James.
There we go. Let's do our extra time segment real fast. We have been alluding to this several times so far, but 2 USL Academy contracts were signed by the Rowdies and their players this past week. It should be noted that winger, 18-year-old Alex Rodriguez, has joined the team. And this is a player who fills in that depth at least a little bit behind, let's say, Pacific Nyongabire on the right side. Maybe some combination of Blake Bodley on the left side or somebody else. But if he does get a debut, I would imagine that it comes in a Jägermeister Cup game because why not? And maybe this will be the one to do it. We shall see. They also signed a keeper, 16-year-old Caleb Klepach. I would probably assume that this is just a depth piece. We have had an academy keeper for the last 3 or 4 seasons as the third option. That's normal. I think that makes sense for most clubs, except I swear to God, I read this today. Boa Vista in Portugal, their first and second choice keeper both tore their ACL in the same practice session, meaning they only have their 17-year-old keeper as part of the first team now. So I hope that doesn't happen to us because that's literally terrible for both of those players. But also it would be Caleb Klepach going into the deep end. Let's avoid that one. Yeah. Either way, we do have some depth if something were to happen to both Campisi and Bondre over the course of the season. Now, the last piece of extra time news I actually did not have here, but it doesn't matter because Carlos already knows what I'm talking about. It is the next round of the Open Cup, the round of 32 to be specific. I believe the game is May 6th or 7th. I'm forgetting exactly which one offhand. But 7th. Tickets are available now. Please get your tickets because the Tampa Bay Rowdies at Al Lang Stadium are hosting Orlando City. If you don't know what that means, you must live under a rock. It is the biggest rivalry that I think the Tampa Bay Rowdies have because Orlando City fans are very smug about a team that ultimately does not do that well in MLS. Like, they make the playoffs, and then I don't know. They have, what do they have? Like the MLS is back tournament. Did they win that or something? I think that was Portland.
It's a real tournament.
It was after COVID, but I don't know what Orlando City has won that gives their fans this superiority complex that they feel they have.
They
and
did win
also
that
their city's
Cup.
disgusting. So
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. But if you do not have tickets, please get them. Please make sure that we fill the stadium as much as possible to take on this really hated team. Carlos, do you have anything to hit on specifically for this game?
Yeah. No, I just really don't like this team. Like, James, oh my God. They did win that Open Cup that season that we went.
That's what I'm forgetting. That's what I'm forgetting.
Yeah. They played Sacramento in the final.
They
so
did.
Take that with a grain of salt. It was a very mid-Sacramento team that year, by the way. I don't know how, like, it was incredible that they were the team that made that deep of a run.
Yeah.
How well, like how they were playing in the USL. Yeah, this is the game that I would trade so many like wins for, you know, like I would, this would carry me over through the rest of the year. Truly. Like, it would be everything. Like, it would just be perfect if we could pull this off. There's a lot of negative ways to look at it, right? I mean, this is like the shakiest Rowdy squad in a long time, and now we're hosting them, whatever, like the whole thing. We're not playing great soccer. If you're the eternal optimist, you could be like, well, James, this is a great opportunity to have a very marquee win, turn the season around. I don't know. Like, I think they're not playing. Orlando's not playing great soccer right now either, for the record. There's always a chance, and I think there's actually a pretty decent chance at home. There's always room for an upset, whether it's home or away. I think playing at home, it gives us a big boost in terms of our chances. And that boost only gets bigger if you show up to the game. The Rowdies have been kind of like slowly releasing tickets and stages, and they sold out of the midfield allotment already.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando's caged, section out by the Bayshore Boulevard lounge that they gave them, I think, is sold out. It's a few hundred tickets. And like those bleachers, that if you were there for that 2017 opener against Orlando City B, you'll remember what I'm talking about. So there'll be a good chunk of them there on a Wednesday night. But if you're listening to this and you're a Rowdies fan, which you probably are if you're listening to this 1 hour and 12 minutes into the episode, like, you need to be there too. If you're a season ticket holder, you have a complimentary ticket, by the way, waiting for you in your Rowdies.
Get that. Just get that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find. You should have gotten an email about it. You can find it in your ticket portal. But man, like, if there's a game to bring folks to, like, I will be the first to admit that there's a lot of folks come to the Rowdies games that come just because it's a Saturday night. They come with their kids and everything, and their families and everything. I think that's a good chunk of our attendance on Saturday nights. It's hard to get people out to a Wednesday game, regardless of who you're playing. I think some of the intensity of this might have gotten lost because we haven't played them in any Orlando team since 2017, when it was their B team, which, by the way, they loaned down like 10 senior team players to that B team when they opened against us, for the record. Nobody talks about that, but that's what happened. They loaned down. No, it was 9. It was 9 senior team players that they loaned down for that opening game against the Rowdies back in 2017. But I digress. Last time we hosted the actual, senior Orlando team was 2014, and that notorious game that ended up with, I think, 4 folks arrested from there. Interesting little supporters group down there.
Yeah.
This game's intense, man. And for what reason? I don't know. That's the beauty of it. I don't know why that, in theory, a team that's, been this far gone from their USL days, and, they filled up their stadium after Kaká came in. Like, I have so many shots I can take out of Orlando, but the reality is, like, they get decent crowds. They're in MLS, right? They have a lot of money. It's a team that, for a lot of their fans, don't really think about the Rowdies, but for their intense guys, their folks that have been around since 2014, 2013, 2012, They still think about the Rowdies. They have a dedicated song about the Rowdies that they still sing every once in a while. Like, they still think about us, and I think it'll be a fun game because of it. Like, it's gonna be fun regardless. I want to get the win. Win or lose, though, you need to be at this game. Like,
Yeah.
like we cannot be outsung. We cannot be out cheered in our own stadium or anything, which I don't think will happen, for the record. But you need to be at the game, fill it out with green and gold, because again, this is a really, really great opportunity for us to not only just get a big upset, but to get a big upset against a team that we really don't like, get a big upset, and maybe turn things around for the rest of the year. Like, there's a lot of really, really, really big positives that could come out of this. And for the record, if we win this one, we host the winner of Nashville and Chattanooga in the next round of the Open Cup, which would be the round of 16 for anyone keeping track at home. Like, round of 16 in the Open Cup, it's pretty deep in the tournament. So there's just so many really, really good things that can come out of a win here. So be at this game, be loud, be intense. Like, this is a game where you can expect things to be heated on the field and off the field. Be conscious of that too. Like, you can know what you're kind of getting into in this one, but like, we need everyone there, James. Like, this is a big, big opportunity for us.
Yep.
That's all I have to say. Get your tickets and go at this game. And again, if you're a season ticket holder, you get complimentary tickets. So claim that. Be at the game. Come on.
Yeah, there's really no reason for you to not take them up on a free ticket.
Absolutely.
Come on, just do that. All right. Well, thank you, listeners. We've gone long on this one. I think that all of it was worthwhile because there were two games, and one of those led to a huge one on the very near horizon. Yeah. Get your tickets. But thank you for joining us all this time. Please follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky. Anywhere you are, we are too at RBLR Sports, and I am mostly on Twitter at RBLR James K. What about you, Carlos? At Carlos CPA 10. My last shout out of the day, by the way, I think it was Rugby King who commented this earlier. Despite the loss at the end of this past weekend, Al Lang looks great. Yeah, there it is. Al Lang looked awesome. The team was playing great crowd, which I thought was a higher number than it actually was. I think the official number is like 6,200 and some people, but it felt like a lot more people. That's the energy we need against Miami this weekend, against Birmingham the next weekend, and against Orlando on that following Wednesday. Just as many people in green and gold into these stands. That turnaround's coming, James. I feel it. There we go. And if you would like more of this, please like and subscribe to our podcast. I don't know where the M came from in the middle of that. You can get the full experience on YouTube, but we are also on Spotify and the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts, wherever podcasts are. We're 2 games down, an Open Cup win, and another one coming. Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.